how did you create learning plans at Northrup Grumman?
I remember that was one of my first major gigs when I made senior manager of learning services. So we used to do it the old-fashioned way, the training needs assessment, you know, this massive questionnaire and survey that went out to whomever they had allowed us to go out to. So let me just say that about this. Notice I said they would allow, right? So 17,000 employees in a sector. I can't bombard everyone's email with this survey. They don't allow that, right? I mean, they, you know, the people who are responsible not only for the infrastructure, but the folks who kind of monitor what's sensible and what's not sensible. And so, okay, well, how do I scale that back? I'll send out an email to 6,000 managers. Well, not 6,000, maybe 4,000. So I elevate that up to a functional area. So we would do this. We would have some focus groups. We would understand what the major programs were and figure out what their training needs were. And we were responsible to doing this on an annual basis. I can tell you that was hard. And the data that came back was all over the place. It told us everything, and it told us nothing. We eventually learned to elevate the training need to what the functional directors and functional vice presidents believed those training needs were. We eventually built a hybrid so that we worked with the major stakeholders and the functional leads. We worked with some of the people responsible for certain technologies or program aspects, and we would literally stop people in the hallway and ask them what they thought they needed, and we would create a composite. One of the things that we also had to do, because of our association with SCI, the Software Engineering Institute out of Pittsburgh, we were a CMMI compliant organization that would be capability, maturity, model integrated, which suggests that if we did things in a particular way, we would achieve a better outcome. So we were beholden to following these prescriptive steps and processes to earn this certification that we could share with our clients. And that required that we do a certain amount of needs assessment. My team was responsible for that. But as I suggested to you earlier, doing those things didn't necessarily say we were any better at anything, particularly from a training perspective, right? So you attend this process-oriented class, I get to check the box, right, that you were there, I'm compliant, but I don't know if you're any better at this thing than not, because that was never asked of us. So again, it's one of these things where we understood what we were responsible for contractually. We understood what each of the functions needed to accomplish, and we understood what certain individuals believed, you know, in maintaining that cone, right? What they needed, and then we created the plans. And we instituted more stringent feedback mechanisms to in fact tell us that these are the things that were necessary. We also got smarter to look long-term, right? What are the long-term skills that are going to be required to satisfy the business strategy longer term? So we would do things like critical skill assessments, you know, identify what those things were, and then see what the capability was inherent to the organization, what we would need from outside. So things like cybersecurity, you know, as we really started to get into cyber, well, what is a cyber professional? What is that person supposed to be able to do? How are they supposed to think? Even down to their attitudes, right? Cyber professionals have chips on their shoulders there. So what are their attitudes? And we, you know, began to codify them and then train towards them or prepare towards them. And that proliferated into our strategic hiring in the whole 9 yards.